Today we're going to be reviewing a 400 watt power inverter by Anglink. I also reviewed their 300 watt power inverter, but today we're going for the bigger brother. We'll see if this thing performs any differently and what's so crazy about it. So I guess I'll just say, first off, here's the 300 watt power inverter. It's I like the design of it a little bit better, to be completely honest with you, but it's a little bit less power, one less USB port, and but beyond that, it still works great. If you need 300 watts, this is cool. It's a little bit cheaper as well, so if you guys want something a little bit cheaper, go for that. If you want this one, well, let's talk about it. It's pretty cool too. First off, I thought this thing looked purple online, but it's definitely dark blue in person, which in my opinion is a big difference because a big purple hunk of a power inverter just seemed weird to me, and blue just looks way better in my opinion. That said, I still think the 300 watt model looks a little bit better because this thing just has, I mean, it's nice that it has some features that the 300 watt doesn't, like some extra fuses on board. It has a little lightning indicator on top, which is cool, but it's just a little bit more bulky and stuff like that, and I'm not a crazy fan of that. But I guess I could just be down to preferences as well. Despite the design, the main functions are still here. You get 2 outlets down there on the bottom. You also get 2 USB ports this time, so that's one more than last time. And they're both rated at the 2.4 amps, although they seem to pretty much charge at the same rate as the 300 watt. I mean, they charge pretty well. They didn't charge my phone super quick, but it still charged it pretty nicely. There's also a power switch down there, which is just a clickable power switch. It's not like a toggle switch. All this stuff is kind of pretty close to each other. So if you got some big power, power plugins and stuff like that have power adapters right on the plugin, they could block off like possibly USB port, possibly even the power button, which would come into issue. So Anglink, if you're gonna ever redesign this thing, maybe spread these out a little bit more. These are even a little bit closer than the 300 watt model, and I thought those were already just a little bit close. So spread these out just a little bit more. Oh, and earlier I talked about that power indicator here on the top. That shows you if the leads are messed up. So that's pretty nice to show you if your leads are messed up, if you can't tell from red and black and stuff like that. I mean, I guess it can happen to everybody, but if you do happen to screw that up, it'll blow out the fuses. Thankfully, they give you a fuse for the cigarette lighter, which is awesome, but they don't give you a fuse, or they don't like give you the 2 fuses for up here, which are both 25 amp, I think. So why don't they give you those fuses? Come on, Anglink, I think you should give us the fuses for this. But as I talked about with the 300 watt model, the cables are still the same. You get the cigarette lighter cable, which is just a cigarette lighter on one end that has a fuse inside it, and then you get the 2 little leads that you plug into the leads here on the power inverter, which is cool. Then you also just get the straight up battery clamps, which just hook up to your battery. Same basic concept, red to red, black to black, and you got some power that way as well. Unfortunately, there is an issue with those power leads, by the way. So basically, you need to plug them so like they're pointed upwards, kind of like this, instead of pointed downwards like this. I have some B-roll to show this. Basically, if you point them downwards, they'll kind of get bent by this power inverter itself. So like after time, these cables would probably become brittle or some sort like that. So that's kind of a design oversight in my opinion. So the cable, I mean, maybe these could be pushed up a little bit more, so that's not really an issue. But it's something I don't think they really thought about completely. But if you do, I mean, it still works fine. Just point them upwards and then you won't have any issues at all. Also, kind of like I mentioned earlier, the USB charging doesn't seem to be the fastest out there. On my phone, it was like under 10%, which is what the 300 watt model showed as well. But I don't know, I feel like I kind of expect a little bit more. This could just be the app on my phone just being stupid and not really showing a correct like power draw or anything. But I don't know, I feel like it could be a little bit faster, unless it's my app that's just being weird. So despite those few issues, this power inverter actually works really great. That fan that's between the power leads, by the way, is incredibly quiet. It's even quieter than the 300 watt model, and I thought that was pretty quiet. So don't worry about that at all. It keeps this pretty well cooled as well. So that's nice. It's not going to overheat while it's in your car, which is pretty cool. Unless you draw way too much power through it, then it might overheat, but it's rated for 400 watts. Just do 400 watts. So if you saw my 300 watt Anglink power inverter review and you thought you needed maybe just a little bit more power, or if you like this design better, then go for the 400 watt model, because it definitely works pretty great. It's very similar to the 300 watt model, but more power and slightly more options, which is always cool. That said, I think honestly, I don't need all the power of the 400 watt model. The 300 watt model is a little bit cheaper, and I kind of like the design a little bit more. So if it was me, I think I'd honestly pick the 300 watt model. But let me know what you guys think. 300 watt model or 400 watt model? Tell me about the design, and what do you guys think about that in the comment section. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching this review. Anglink did send me this inverter to review to give an unbiased review. There's a lot of stuff about that rolling on the internet, people giving biased reviews and crap like that. I actually did test this thing out pretty thoroughly, so I don't really think there's that many issues with it at all. It worked literally just like this one that I've been using for years. So I think Anglink has a pretty good product, and it's really not too expensive either. If Apple logo was on this, it'd be like $100. So anyways, thanks Anglink for sending the samples. I'll probably give at least one of these away in a future giveaway, so watch out for that. And beyond that, thank you guys for watching this review. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and beyond that, you guys have a great day. I'll see you later.